listening to the Straight to Video podcast with Rob Lane.
What is up? How's it going? And thanks for checking out the Straight to Video podcast. On today's show, I chat with someone who I consider one of this country's finest singer-songwriters when it comes to smashing out great power pop tunes and able to lend that talent to whatever genre of music he's vibing off, whether it be pop punk, synthwave, or just classic acoustic songs. I'm excited to bring you my chat with singer-songwriter and member of the uber-popular band Busted, Mr. James Bourne. Now, James is currently working on his brand new solo album Sugar Beach and has just released the title track, but will be found dropping more singles up to the album's release and a UK tour coming this April. Since the early 2000s, James has been giving us hit single after hit single, whether it be with his bands Busted, Son of Dork, or the supergroup McBusted. He also penned and co-wrote a bunch of McFly's hit singles and had a huge hand in helping that band on their path to success. And outside of band projects, he's stayed constantly busy with his solo material from Future Boy and work on musicals, from one based on his Son of Dork album titled Loserville the Musical to his current long-term project out in New York called Murder at the Gates. It was tough for me to decide what to chat with James about. There's just so much cool stuff he's been involved in. So during our talk, I tried to cover as much fun things as possible, from his new album, working with legendary producer John Fields, through to his early musical obsessions such as Michael Jackson, right through to how much of an impact the classic film Back to the Future had on him as a kid, and which has followed him all throughout his career. Before we dive in, as always, please show some love and support to our friends Dead Skull Coffee, and when grabbing some of their ground or full bean rock and roll coffee from their website deadskullcoffee.co.uk, be sure to add the discount code STV on checkout, and that will bag you 15% off your order just for being a listener to this show. And if you want to get a little more involved in this podcast, if you're a regular listener, please consider checking out the Patreon page we have over at patreon.com/STVpod, and this will get you behind the scenes access to the show, early heads up on guests, a bonus movie podcast, and also the chance to grab some exclusive straight to video merch that isn't available to anyone else. Thanks so much to everyone who is already a part of that, because it's massively appreciated. Alright, I want to thank James for chatting with me right before he jetted off to the USA, as I know he's a busy guy, so it was massively appreciated. If you want to keep up to date on James's new album Sugar Beach and the April tour, then he's always active on Twitter at James Bourne, and on Facebook and Instagram where he's James Future Boy Bourne. But right now, please enjoy my straight-to-video chat with singer-songwriter and Back to the Future aficionado, Mr. James Bourne.
Just fuck my plan. Always been a traveling man. I wish someone would give a damn, but no one does, so here I am. And sugar baby, sugar, 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 sugar.
We did it!
Peace and quiet.
How you doing, sir? You all right?
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Where are you at the moment?
I'm in London at the moment. Yeah, but I'm going to LA tomorrow, and then I'm going to New York.
Yeah? How long are you stopping over on the West Coast for?
I'm going to be there for about 4 days, and I'm going to my musical. I have a musical that I wrote for Broadway that we're working on, so I'm going to New York for that.
Is that anything to do with the Loserville stuff, or is this something totally new?
Oh, no, this is another one.
Yeah? How long has that been going?
Since 2013.
Wow. Very cool. You're unstoppable.
They take a long time. People don't understand how much work it is.
No, definitely not. Well, mate, I appreciate you doing this for us. That's awesome. I know we've had a couple of messages back and forth over a few months and all this kind of thing. So thanks for taking some time to do it. But you're getting set to release a brand new album, Sugar Beach, follow up to 2020's Safe Journey Home. You've always been like a prolific songwriter, but how have you been approaching the solo material? Is it different to the band projects?
Yeah, it is different because obviously you, when I make music by myself, it's just for myself. So I guess I can get things done a bit more quickly. It's just there's less people involved, so you can make decisions a bit quicker. I get to put stuff in my songs and that and Charlie probably wouldn't like. We don't really disagree about much, but do you know what I mean? It does kind of, it's a different energy for sure. Like I don't know, I'm probably coming up with a lot of, when we write songs with the band, I definitely come up with a lot of the songs. So it matters to me that everyone in the band likes it.
Do you kind of know what the rest of the band are going to like? Oh, Matt will be really into this, or Charlie will be really into this.
I also know what the rest of the band are going to not like too.
This is going to curveball them a little bit too much.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, there are definitely themes that might be a bit too rich for Busted. Like I'll go down a rabbit hole on something that maybe, which is good. I mean, one of the good things about writing with the band is definitely, when I listen back to Busted albums, I definitely feel like, wow, it was good that it's like water going through sand, you know, it gets the shit out of the way. So there's a higher chance that I'm going to write some shit on my album when there's not those different gateways for the ideas to go through. But yeah, like, look, writing music is something that is just, I find it really enjoyable, and I always want to do it if the band's together or if it isn't. And it would be nice to be considered, you know, it'd be nice for my solo stuff to kind of have a little bit more exposure. That's why I want to talk about it, you know.
Would you say Sugar Beach is a continuation of Safe Journey Home?
Yeah, it is, really. I was listening today because the first single just went up on Spotify, and I was listening to it and the songs on Safe Journey Home. And even though direction of Sugar Beach is different and it has a different style to it, it's a little bit more, even though Everyone Is My Friend was quite soulful, Sugar Beach has more of an R&B soulful thing to it. But because all of the songs that I write for myself seem to be rooted in an acoustic performance, still sounds like cohesive. So that's like, it's cool to kind of see all the songs kind of appear next to each other online and wait to be discovered. And it's fun, you know, that's the thing. Like, I think the thing about Spotify is that it's kind of cool to see your stuff up there start to collect, you know.
I guess it's interesting to see what playlists it ends up in as well.
Yeah, for me, that's usually nothing, but I'm hoping that changes. Look, I mean, I listen to music and I make music, and I feel like my music's just as good as everyone else's.
I think it's always exciting when a project comes out, particularly from you, because you never know which way it's going to go. I mean, Safe Journey Home, I thought it had like a great, let's say, American road journey feel to it. These streets know me well, I love. But you can like fully embrace a totally different style and, like you say, go down like a rabbit hole with it, whether it be the pop punk of Busted or the synth wave of Night Driver. But you got into that early with the Future Boy stuff. But now this new stuff, it has a great singer-songwriter vibe of, let's say, James Taylor or Jackson Browne, but with this cool pop sheen. I guess that's just a testament to you being just a pure music fan, regardless of genre. A good song's a good song.
Yeah, it's like a lot of the songs I listen to on Spotify are like you said, like, you know, I listen to James Taylor, I listen to Jackson Browne, I listen to a lot of, I love timeless songs. I love listening to songs that were written in the 70s and you can listen to them now and they still sound amazing. I don't know how I'll feel when I listen back to my music in the future, but that is one of the main things I strive for when I make music. Is from the beginning, like when we got back together with the band with Night Driver, I was like, even if we do something different, it'd be amazing to make music that people can listen back to when we're older and think that still sounds as good as I remember it. And it is fun to like try different things. Like with Night Driver, we were going down a road that we hadn't explored before as a band. You know, it was fun to kind of make a synth Busted album and to work with John Fields, who I love, who has done all my solo albums. John is just like a complete, I don't know what the word is. He's like a student of that whole era. If you reference, this song, we should go in this direction with this song sound-wise, he can bring up the exact sound. When I do my solo stuff with John, he kind of tunes into me it's like telepathically. On Drive, there's all this cool noise, this pad stuff. All of these noises are like music that kind of goes on around my acoustic performance that he kind of brings. It's just like, yeah, yes, please, John.
How did you guys originally hook up? Because his CV of bands is incredible. I mean, some of my favourite bands, Soul Asylum, Goo Goo Dolls. He's worked a lot with some friends of mine, the Dolly Rots. But that's just like scratching the surface of the list of bands he's worked with.
He's the perfect producer for Busted in my book. I mean, I couldn't wait to introduce him to the band because, you know, we would cover Soul Asylum song. We did a cover of Runaway Train. I mean, I got to know him because of the Jonas Brothers. And I was in the studio with the Jonas Brothers and the Jonas Brothers were working with John. And that's how I met John. really was my connection with the Jonas Brothers, and he was producing their records. And so when the band came back together, I couldn't wait to connect the two. I was just like, this is obvious. This is just, we're going to make it an amazing album. I think I sent the email, and then a week later we were in the studio in Los Angeles.
Is it just the two of you on your solo albums?
On Sugar Beach, there are literally no other names.
Right. Solo in the purest word.
Yeah, I mean, well, I wrote all the songs on the island, and John produced all the songs in his studio. I went to Minneapolis, obviously, to make the record properly. But when I was on the island, I was sending John music over the phone. The Sugar Beach song, the loop, the guitar loop in Sugar Beach, like I have that on my iPhone. I went to the island because I couldn't travel directly to my house. So I was looking at places to go, and John was like, how about this place, Sugar Beach? And I was like, that looks really nice. It was really expensive, but it was really nice, but it was expensive. And so I was like, okay, yeah, why not? And then he was like, you'll go there, you'll make an album. I'm thinking, John, I'm probably not going to make an album. I'm probably going to lie on the beach and sunbathe, and I'm not going to do anything. But I was quite stressed because the onward journey to the States wasn't that simple because of the pandemic.
Just a minefield getting there.
But once I figured out what my flight was, my onward journey, I started to relax, and I wrote this song, Sugar Beach. And John was like, well, send me that guitar loop. So I recorded it on my phone, and I was just recording stuff on the island. I mean, like even the grasshoppers at night.
Awesome. Have they made the album?
Sugar Beach guitar loop.
Crazy.
That's on the record.
Yeah.
And I've got me singing it. I've got the vocal in here that I sent. Like I'm literally in a closet surrounded by my duvet.
Modern recording skills.
Yeah, and I'm just singing into the phone, and I'm sending those files to John, and he starts producing, and I'm thinking, we're making an album.
Because I think you spoke about it before. I think people have asked you, why don't you produce your stuff? But is it exciting for you to get to sit with somebody like John or send stuff to John and just to see what he can add to it?
Yeah, I've written and produced songs 100% by myself before. There was this song that I wrote, Pigs Can Fly, that I wrote about the band coming back together, and I produced it and I wrote it. And, there was just the element of enjoying working with someone. Also, I don't think I would be capable of producing Sugar Beach by myself. When you add John Fields into the mix with me, you get Sugar Beach, because John is like a producer that plays too. Some producers don't play.
It's such a grey area. My wife says, what does a producer do? And I said, well, it depends.
I just think different producers have different skill sets and different methods. When John and I are working on something, between us, we just kind of have a lot of the bases covered. It just so happened that on this record, there wasn't anyone else. It's either him or me. It's so funny when we did the credits for Sugar Beach, we were just like...
Nice and easy.
Yeah, it was so easy.
There's none of that shit. I hope I've not forgot somebody.
Yeah, and I have to say, I think it has been really amazing to... John and I, our friendship is kind of we've just made more and more songs together, and we enjoy each other's company, I guess. And it's amazing to sort of have someone like that to make music with. I don't think I would be having as enjoyable journey making my own stuff, because when you've got someone like John who's there and who likes the songs.
You don't want to be going back to an album in 10 years, like say, listening back to it and thinking, that was a miserable time making that album with that person.
Exactly. So I think I'm just such a fan of him as a producer, and he seems to like the songs, and we find that, it's a collaborative thing. I'm playing on the record, and he also suggests things on the writing. I think John adds a lot more to the writing than a lot of people give him credit for. Having someone to say, hey, this time around, what about if that lyric isn't there? He's kind of the dream collaborator.
Well, you've worked with some great rock guys too in the past. Tommy Henriksen from Alice Cooper's band.
When I met Tommy, it was this was before the Alice Cooper thing.
Yeah. And
before the Hollywood Vampires thing. And it was 2010. We were both in this no man's land. And we were both writing for American Idol contestants. And we met as songwriters. And then 3 years goes by and we're both touring arenas with different things. We actually did the Future Boy stuff together. I've met some amazing people do music. A lot of my best friends, really.
Have you been to see Tommy play with Alice Cooper? Or has he been to see you guys?
I went out for dinner with him and Alice Cooper and the whole band.
Holy shit.
When they were in London, I remember being in the car and Alice Cooper was talking about, we were having like a good conversation about music, and he was talking about the Beatles and the Beach Boys. And what did he say? He said, Yesterday is a great song, but Good Vibrations is a great record.
He's so smart, though, that guy.
He was like spitting out a lot of, just a lot of gold.
You just sat back and just taking it all in.
He was just like talking, and Alice Cooper is like, you know, in Wayne's World, where he starts going, actually, Milwaukee is an Indian name, and it's the only town to elect 3 socialist mayors.
Where'd that come from?
He is actually full of like facts like that.
Also, Michael Raffel, who's co-written some Busted and Son of Dork stuff. How much of Michael's hair metal background did you dive into?
I mean, I learned about that later on, actually, because when I met Mike, I actually liked his other band. I like Mead.
That's one of your favorite albums of all time, right?
Yeah, it's one of them. I mean, it definitely influenced me a lot. I guess for me, it's like with Mike, he just kind of was, I always kind of saw him as just a musician that I liked. And it's really weird because I have a lot of relationships with really good musicians who have also like had amazing careers. And what's wild to me is that there's some talented people out there who no one really thinks about them or calls them. And it's like, this is insane. For me, I really have a lot of relationships that are just built out of like love for music. And Mike's one of them, Tommy's one of them, John is like that.
Do you remember where you heard that Neve song? Was it through the Faculty soundtrack?
No, it was Busted's first manager, Richard. In the beginning, he was interested in, you know, managing me, and I was like interested in who else he manages.
Right, okay.
And he was like, this is my band that I have signed in America, and this is who they are. And I immediately looked them up, and I heard that song first.
Was you listening to much of that kind of stuff? Because it kind of fell into that whole Matchbox 20, Goo Goo Dolls sound. Was you listening to much of that stuff at that point, or was you listening to more punkier stuff?
At that point, I was listening to everything that was in the charts. I was listening to like straight pop music. I loved Blink-182. I loved, you know, Wheatus at the time. It was all that year 2000 songs that were anything that was big, really. I liked it. I didn't really discriminate. I didn't really care if it was the Backstreet Boys or if it was something that was like guitar band or whatever. Like, I just kind of liked it if I liked it. If I liked the song.
I guess that's because, I mean, you've been listening to music for such a long time. Was it like 6 years old when Michael Jackson came onto your radar?
It was amazing. It was just like, well, that was like the first cassette that my mum had on in the car when I used to go to school in the morning.
Which album was it? Was it Bad or?
Yeah, it started out with Bad.
Yeah.
And then eventually Dangerous came out. And then it was like, oh, Dangerous has got another cool album.
And the videos as well.
Yeah, like what a time to be alive when, you know, you would turn on MTV and you would see a new Michael Jackson video.
But there were mini movies. That was the cool thing. Like the black and white video.
It was like a cinema experience.
Yeah.
But it's hard not to fall in love with music when that's like happening.
Especially as a kid, because it's more than music.
It was just a completely different time. It's like to the way it is now, it's just a complete alien planet to the one that I feel like I grew up in.
Just the anticipation to a new Michael Jackson video. It'd be hyped up for weeks beforehand for the premiere.
Music felt a lot more important back then, for sure.
Did Michael Jackson have that kind of star magic and appeal to you, which absorbed so many people? Like, was your brothers and sister into him as well?
I think everyone was into him. I was definitely a big fan. I got invited to see him play live twice. Yeah, by other friends that knew I was a fan. So like this kid that I went to school with, I didn't really go to concerts, but he did. And he was like, would you want to come with me?
I get to see this person in real life.
Exactly. So that was probably the biggest deal. When I got told I was going to see Michael Jackson live at Wembley, the old Wembley, you know, that was a highlight for sure of my childhood. It was a Dangerous tour. If you can imagine it, Black or White has just been released. The other thing that's crazy was that I feel like for someone at that time, Michael Jackson would have been, I guess, in his 30s. It's like early 30s. He knew how to, like, I think young people just were able to connect with his music through the videos, not just the music, but the video. And he also brought in things like, you know, if Macaulay Culkin's in the video, as a kid, you know who Macaulay Culkin is because Home Alone is the biggest film ever. So it was just kind of like connecting the dots. It was like all these things that you think are cool in the same place.
Did like someone like Prince have an effect on you as well? Was you a Prince fan? Because he has that kind of mystique, that larger than life thing.
I am a big Prince fan, but I became a Prince fan later on. I didn't have the awareness of Prince the way that Michael Jackson, people forget how ubiquitous Michael Jackson was. People like to tend to forget things. It was like the biggest thing ever.
Was that at the point when you wanted to learn and do music yourself? Because was that easy for you to see as a young kid about how to go about it? Because you've got Michael Jackson as this singer, but could you put the pieces together that you needed to learn an instrument to go down that path?
I think the idea of growing up and doing music definitely was appealing. I don't think the idea that it was a viable option for me really sunk in that young, because Michael Jackson wasn't like real. I didn't think, oh, I can do that.
No.
It's like when you see other things and you see someone playing a song on a guitar and you learn guitar and you're like, oh, I could do that. When you watch Michael Jackson, it's like, no one could do that. It
just seems unattainable, that does. So was there somebody else who you thought, oh, right, somebody performing with a guitar, or another video where you thought, oh.
I think you had a lot of boy bands and a lot of those singing and dancing boy bands that had cool songs. And, it was exciting to watch. It was like, oh, I mean, that looks easier. And then I think with Busted, what was cool is that I ended up, in a band that was a lot of the things I loved. It was a pop band. It was a band that kind of had guitar music, but could be included in the pop landscape, but like on the radio.
Do you think it helped, like, becoming a fan of bands like Blink-182 and think, oh, that's something I could do?
Yeah, I mean, I love Blink. It was weird. It was like, I definitely liked them. I always felt they were a lot cooler than we were. For me, I would compare Busted to more like, I don't think Blink were the best like side-by-side comparison for what Busted was, especially in the beginning, even though that I love Blink. I just think that bands like Smash Mouth and Wheatus sonically were more could be more like where we were. Do you know what I mean?
So when was the first time you wanted to actually put a band together? Because wasn't your first band, was it Sick Puppy, which you later resurrected for the name of your label? And did you have a merch company called that as well? Do I remember?
It was just fun stuff when I was at school, just like playing gigs, trying to find places to play, any opportunity to actively do music. But, I think that was fun when you're a teenager, when you're like 13, but then you've got kids, your heart has to be in it. I'm still best friends with everyone. I mean, actually, sadly, our drummer just died. He had a heart attack and died. But everyone else, was like, we got together at the funeral. And I think music just brings people together. It's like, it's cool, like one of the things I like about it is that you make a lot of friends through music.
That's the payoff at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's the friends and the memories and the good times and the like what you hold inside from all of those experiences.
You, along with Matt and Charlie in Busted, you've always embraced a lot of American pop culture, American movies. Now you've got a house in Hollywood. Do you get a buzz from seeing like all the movie locations or maybe meeting people involved in things you loved growing up?
I do love all that stuff. And I think when we first went to LA in 2003 to do music, and it was like hard not to fall in love with it because, when we went to LA then, it still felt like what LA would have been like.
Right. Have you noticed like massive changes then since you've been living there?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely different. When we first went there, it was like just the movie business was like, you get someone bump into you on a street and they would feel like they discovered you and bring you in to try and audition for a film or something. Like, it was like that stuff was happening on the street. Now it's like everything's how many Instagram followers do you have, and it's all happens in the DMs.
Yeah.
But a lot of that stuff happening in front of you on the street was really cool.
It felt like there was always that chance you could just move there and get spotted.
You'd see things getting filmed more. You'd see like things getting made. And you'd bump into people. It was just, I don't know, it just felt more alive, certainly in the last, because COVID, I think, accelerated a lot of things, a lot of the things that were transitioning anyway. But I would say I wouldn't mind going back 20 years.
Everyone says it's all hotels now. All the landmarks are being pulled down to make way for hotels.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I just feel like you're going to end up with all hotels and people are going to have a lot of places to stay, but less to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we're going to go and stay there and do less.
When the three of you are over there recording, are there any places you like to go and regularly visit?
I mean, last time we were there, we went to Silver Lake and we saw People Mover and Walt Mink. John had a band, People Mover, went to see, and we didn't know it was going to be a Walt Mink show, but we ended up watching that, which was crazy. And Jack Black, I was really excited to see Walt Mink, and I was like standing right in front of the stage, and Jack Black and Kyle from Tenacious D, they just kind of sandwiched me in at the front. I was like stood in like a Tenacious D sandwich watching Walt Mink, which for people who understand who Walt Mink are is like pretty insane memory.
I love it. Back to the Future is one of the films which have played a big part in your life. I have to get some kind of 80s movie reference in the chat somewhere. Do you remember when you first saw it and why it had such an effect on you?
I was like 8 years old and I had like a little TV in my bedroom and I'd done my homework and it was like 9 p.m. and the movie was just starting. Just as I turned the television on, that logo was on the screen, like kind of flashing, you know, like shining logo.
Yeah.
And it just said Back to the Future, and I was like, what's this? And
so it's totally new to you?
Completely out. It was like just, I would watch films. It was like Wednesday night, 9 p.m. They would show a film, a good film. And it was a Back to the Future night, and watched the film. And I don't think I blinked the whole time. I think by the end of the film, I was just kind of left like this in front of the TV, like,
I need to see it again.
I couldn't believe it. I just felt like I knew a lot more about myself after the film ended.
Right.
I just felt like I knew I got to drive that car and I've got to learn to play guitar.
Have you seen the musical? Have you had a chance to?
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah? How is it?
I love the special effects. I thought that was really good. It's hard to watch your favorite film on stage, to be honest, because the thing that make films amazing, so much of that is missing. I think they did a good job. I think that the effects, the special effects in Back to the Future are some of the best I've seen on stage. I think as a musical, though, I think it's just like, because I make musicals.
So are you watching it from a different angle?
I would have loved to have been involved. I just would have written it differently. I think it would have been cool to do Back to the Future, a musical that wasn't Back to the Future 1.
Right.
It would be cool if the Back to the Future musical was like Back to the Future 4. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be cool. Like there was a ride at Universal. I don't know if you remember it, but
yeah. Why did they take that away?
It was so good. But like what was cool about that ride is you felt like it was Back to the Future, but it was Back to the Future that you didn't know.
You were going somewhere else.
Yeah, it was like a Back to the Future episode you hadn't seen. And what makes Back to the Future great is still there. And I just think that would have been cool because then you wouldn't have felt like, I can't help but compare.
That reflects on all the movie remakes and reboots. It's an easier sell.
I know, but, you know, isn't it boring? You know, the truth is that it's like, it's hard to bring people along to something new.
So what's your current musical you're going over to New York to do?
Yeah, it's called Murder at the Gates and been doing it since 2013, developing it with Steven Sater, who people who like musicals, they know Spring Awakening. A lot of people really love that show. And Steven wrote that show, the book and the lyrics. And so he's done the book and the lyrics for this new show and I've composed the music. So yeah, I've been doing that for like 10 years. Not constantly because we've been busy on other things, but it's been one of the things we've been developing on the back burner. With musicals, you workshop it, you know, every year. You come back and you change things, write new songs.
Are you a fan of New York?
Yeah, I used to live in New York.
Is that somewhere that's always changing as well?
I haven't really spent much time in New York over the last few years, but like I do love going back there. I have a lot of memories in New York. So I enjoy going there. I've got friends, a lot of friends there.
Again, it comes back to people you know. You could be anywhere in the world as long as you know somewhere and go and hang out and make some memories. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, a lot of friends there and a lot of fun things happening, like with the musical.
Just to kind of wrap things up, you go to the video store in the early 90s and Back to the Future is out on loan. What other film do you pick?
Independence Day. That was a bit later. I rode my bike so fast to the video shop when that came out.
Yeah.
I was the first to rent it.
What was it? Was it Blockbuster then, or did you have like a little independent one?
No, it was in Thorpe Bay Broadway. It's called RM Videos.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like Blockbuster had multiple copies. This place had one.
That's why you had to ride that bike freaking fast.
Yeah. It was like a celebration if they had it.
Yeah. Coming out, holding it up, won a trophy. Did you ever snag any posters or displays from that video shop?
My bedroom was just covered in posters. A lot of them I would get from there. I always used to rent. What was the other thing I was obsessed with renting? I was obsessed with renting The Mask.
Good one.
I'd rent that all the time. Twister.
Yeah. Another Universal ride.
Cable Guy.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters. I just love the old stuff, you know?
What's the film which you love that nobody else has heard of?
An obscure one.
Yeah. You love and you think everybody should know about, but you mention it in a conversation. It's like, I have no idea what that film is.
Before I watched Back to the Future, I had a favourite film called Daryl. Do you know that film?
Yeah. Who's in that one?
Barrett Oliver, kid from Neverending Story.
I've not seen that for years.
He's in Cocoon as well.
Right.
It's him, and I think I can't remember the names of the other people, but it's just a really good story.
I remember it in the video shop and stuff like, because he's got like these, he's got like the space helmet on the front cover.
Yeah. Actually, I want that poster.
James Bourne heads to eBay, Daryl poster.
If anyone's coming to my tour and they want to bring me something cool, bring me that poster.
I want an original Daryl quad movie poster.
I do. I do want that. I do want that.
Super. We'll look out for one for you, mate. We'll look out for one. James, I'll let you go, dude, but thanks ever so much for chatting with us.
Where are you based?
I always tell people I'm just outside Nottingham.
Where's Nottingham nearest to? Manchester or Birmingham?
Closer to Birmingham. So if you're in London, I'm about 2 hours north on the M1.
All right. Well, anyway, I'm touring in April, so...
Yeah, when's the album out? Does it fall to coincide with the tour?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm kind of releasing singles, like, slowly, up to the tour and the album. The tour's on sale now, and the album will be available to pre-order soon.
You're going down the physical media route as well?
Yeah, definitely, doing vinyls, but the vinyls have been backed up because of COVID, but we're going to put the pre-order up soon. I think we're going to do, like, 1,000 vinyls.
Superb, man. I look forward to it. And yeah, so I saw Birmingham was on the tour date, so I'll definitely try and get out to that one.
It's going to be fun. It's really fun.
Thanks so much to James Bourne for chatting with me here on the Straight to Video podcast. If you enjoyed that talk, then please head on over to stvpod.com and maybe dive into my chat with James's busted bandmate Matt Willis, which is still one of my favourites of the past year. Whilst there, you can find over 160 more episodes of this show, but if you listen on one of the popular podcast platforms such as Spotify or Apple Music, please be sure to like, follow and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. To keep up to date with everything James has got coming up, as he has a brand new album, Sugar Beach, and a UK tour on the way, hit him up on Twitter at James Bourne and on Facebook and Instagram, where you can find him at James Future Boy Bourne. That is all for today's show. Hope you've enjoyed it, and be sure to check back every Tuesday and Friday when you'll find a brand new episode. But until then, thanks for listening, and speak to you all again real soon.